Welcome to Rantaz. So, I like rock operas. I also have a certain affinity for a band of wandering warriors, maybe you've noticed.
There's no man or machine can stop me, and you'll soon see.
Yeah, them. But who are these Protomen? Personal history time. I grew up on the Mega Man X series. Big fan of Zero, and to an extent, the Battle Network series. Mega Man X was the first thing I remember actively choosing to be a fan of. Not so much the Mega Man Classic. It's gameplay mostly. It's hard to go from wall kicks and upgrades to the badassness of Zero. It's to like an 8-year-old with an arm cannon. Not that the X series was perfect, beyond the mess that was Mega Man X6 and on, not to mention how Capcom dicked over the story, which is a Rantaz episode for a whole nother day. I'll admit, I like the Robot Masters over the Mavericks, as the more humanoid appearance gives them more options for stories in my opinion. Now, as something of an audiophile, a fan of the Mega Man series, I must have found this meandering around a Rasputin's or an Amoeba's, or some like-minded friend tosses my way. Heh, friends. Long ago abandoned talked to me about music. Which is why I hold patrons hostage and do it this way. Now I found through another love of mine. Webcomics, specifically Johnny Wanderer. You know, back when Yoko and Ath did only comics about their lives. Thought they looked cool and was like, Protomen. Is that an homage name or does it really have something to do with Protoman? Okay, now he must have tracked down their music. Nope. Well, kinda. After seeing the work of Kimmy her, and dealing with the disappointment that she never did more than this and Unrest in the House of Light, here's where I started checking out their music, brought the first 2 albums, and at the time of this recording, I own 2 different versions of Act 1 and 3 different versions of The Will of One. Can you tell these guys are my favorite band yet? However, a lot of people probably first heard the band of Wandering Warriors this way. Yeah, I always waver whether this is corny or perfect, but some of the Protomen's music was used for the web series Video Game High School. Neat. Okay, so why have I gone through all this? I'm a massive dork. This is probably the only time we'll be able to talk about this stuff till the year 20XX when Act 3 drops. How is that not obvious? So what is the Protomen? 12 plus years before the year 200X, Light and Wally worked together. A bit the guys pulled from the first Mega Man animated series. They set to the task of creating robots to work the mines that killed Light's father, and to do more of their jobs too dangerous for human hands. Towards the end of development, Light started getting cold feet, worrying about mankind not being ready for the revolutionary technology and the abuse of power that goes along with it. Wily doesn't feel the same, citing progress can't be stopped and that the city will see them as heroes when they save it from themselves. Hardly hiding that he wants to rule the city with robots as his army. Light reluctantly agrees and starts the machines. For miles, lights flicker on a sudden strain as the machines were brought to life. Still rattled, Light leaves Wily to look over the robots as the assembly line spits them out. Wily does that until he comes upon a single red light shining behind a blacked out blast shield. A dark green helmet. A lone robotic warrior. This was the new face of fear. Dr. Wily and Sniper Joe. Anyway, with Light still going over his decision to his apartment, their apartment, not sure. Wily just freaking drives there. Anyway, Emily, Light's gonna go with girlfriend, fiance, significant other, is just about to leave. On her way out, she's gonna leave Light a note, as that's how they communicate now since Light's been working so hard. Ain't that cute. So by the time M gets there or is about to leave or whatever, Wiley is already wrecking the joint. Looking for, I can only assume, and what we're going to see later, Light's plan for future robots. As this with most continuities, Light's the idea man, while I is the engineering muscle. He also shares Light's feelings for Emily, trying to coax her to his side with the power he would one day wield, and what he currently wields. But ultimately fails. Wiley handles rejection as well as you might think. Sniper Joe slits Emily's throat and leaves her there dead in the middle of the apartment. Wiley and Sniper Joe leave outside Light's window just as he pulls up and catches the robot leaping out the window. Light has just enough time to cradle his lover and pocket the note, just as cops roll up and bust down his door, probably called by Wiley. And right there is why this is my favorite version of the Mega Man continuity. So far, Wiley is a real threat, and he only has one robot. Hours after that, Wiley shows his mechanical muscle to the city. Not his silent assassin, but a big-ass screen on top of the broadcast tower, which starts spitting out Wiley's anti-Light campaign. Light's a smart man that has had his heart smashed 9 ways Sunday, so he gets picked up on a sting outside Emily's grave. Light really doesn't put up much of a fight, seeing as he's just kind of broken at this point. He's eventually tried for her murder, but despite Wiley's control, it's not a slam dunk. Helping Light, but given how Wiley had the propaganda machine going and non-stop, the city's laws look impotent, weak, dangerously outdated in this time. They escort Light to the outskirts of the city while the mob calls for Light's head. With Light living on the fringes, Wiley tears down the old city, building it up again with his mechanical forces, fulfilling Light's promise of a city where people won't work themselves to death. It's a better city, in theory, but the people live in fear that the one man that created it could take it all away, so they dare not speak out against him. Those that end up speaking out, there's always Sniper Joe, or as the children of the city have called him, Light's monster. You know, till this one idiot shows up. Joe tears ass through the city on a motorbike, honestly just youthful rebellion, but it gets the monster's attention. The two fight and Joe beats it, barely, with Light's help, ripping the thing's head off and using it as a helmet for Joe. The pair get the hell out of there and back to Light's place. Here since the trial, Light's gotten squirrelier, but he's got enough sense that someone needs to stop Wiley. So they bomb the broadcast tower. Turns out the broadcast tower doesn't just let Wiley get his equilibrium on, but also networks all the robots together. Knocking the tower out would cripple Wiley. It goes as well as domestic terrorism ever goes. Joe makes it to the top of the tower, bombs the crap out of it, and it does nothing. The vid screens explode and are damaged, but way in the distance, a second transmitter blinks to life. This one's on a fortress, spitting out combat model robots like it's a gumball machine, and preaching how his perfect city is under siege. In one motion, Light and Joe have cemented Wiley's authority, letting him move into 100% dictator mode. So his one and only friend is dead. Wiley has pretty much checkmated the city, and it's all Light's fault. Yeah, Light's pretty much done at this point. But it's enough to finally get him to read Emily's note. With that, Light returns to his hideout. That's Act 2, and we still have Act 1. How about an interlude about beards as a palate cleanser? Now we're in the year 200X. And well, the boys can describe this better than I can.
Light worked far into the night, with the watchful eyes of Wiley's robots weren't upon him. He had set his skillful hands to the task of
Bring a device to bring about a change. Create a machine to bring freedom. To create a man
to save the world! Well, the Vanguard to the Code 9 EF2000X. Protomen was called.
An unbeatable machine, hell-bent on destroying every evil standing between man and freedom. Built for one purpose, to destroy Wiley's army of evil robots. Ready, willing, prepared to fight.
Yeah, in the years from Act 2 to 1, we've gone full post-apocalypse. Protoman begins wrecking the shit out of Wiley's generals. A couple guys I'm sure you've never heard of. But there's still no less than one metric fuck ton of robots. Protoman is beaten because one man cannot save the city alone. The people of the city raise a grave in his honor, and Light goes back to his workshop, hell-bent on destroying it. At the end of the day, Light is a creator. In his grief, he creates a new son, his second son, Mega Man. And at night, Light tells the story of his brother, how they will stay here on the outskirts of the city, and that the city cannot be saved by just one man. However, Mega Man is young and says fuck that noise and tears ass through the city. The people of the city follow him up to Wily's front door. Smack dab into Wily's army. Mega Man grieves for his brother by smashing Wily's army till one lone robotic warrior appears. Yeah, Protoman survived and switched sides, but the man makes some good points. People that once rallied behind him now call for Protoman's death, which Mega Man relents on when he threatens everyone assembled. The last words break him and he takes off his helmet.
These people tell the story to their children as they sleep. Maybe someday we'll see a hero, just a man who knows he's free.
Leaving the people of the city, or robots. The last three words that Mega Man says in the whole act. Kill them all. And the robots do just that. This is basically where we leave off in 2015. They released The City Made Us and Hold Back the Night, but those are just previews. Face melting, two of the best songs the band have ever produced, but still just previews of Act 3. The story is yet to be finished, and we all wait with bated breath. So what's the history of these wandering warriors? Legends say that Commander touched the fabled Mega Man cartridge. Lightning struck him, giving the MTSU's recording program student a vision of the blast-processed future. And by that I mean everyone had gotten their projects done, and he hadn't, but had Mega Man on the brain. So he grabbed some other MTSU students to fill in the gaps he had for his tune. Among them, Heath Who Have No Name, and Doug Fetterman. He called up some ginger guy he knew that would one day be known as Panther. That song they made was Dual Vendetta. The rest is history. And that's about it. I'm opting out of doing a full band discography so I can do a top 10 Protoman song episode somewhere down the line. And just say that at this point, The Cover Up and The City Made Us / Hold Back the Night are my favorite albums. And to get the full experience, well...
You should see them live. They're much better live.
Yeah, I know the band's preferred way of telling the story is through the album, but no, you really need to see these guys live. In years past, the band did a Kiss thing, where they'd stay in costume and in character, even during interviews.
But don't you want to see who?
He is the mask.
That being that they are traveling warriors telling the story. I do kind of miss those days, but I can understand the change. Well, enough of me jarring on. Hope you enjoyed this and will consider checking out this band for yourselves. Here's your good doctor, served here in a commemorative E-tank. That's bourbon. Recommended Maker's Mark. Bullet, but you can use whatever you like. Snap, a ginger liqueur to taste. Ginger beer. I use Canadian Dry, but apparently that makes me a filthy heathen, so go with Reed's Extra Ginger Brew. Hope you enjoy. Hope you consider being a usual patron, or maybe just giving us a tip. As always, like to appease the algorithm gods, all praise. Share this video with friends, subscribe, and ring that bell.